Remember Jared Kushner? Peace in the Middle East was his biggest priority as a senior advisor in the Trump White House. And we are now learning more about his work while his father-in-law was in office. With us for more, Michael Schmidt, Washington correspondent for the New York Times and MSNBC contributor. He's the author of Donald Trump versus the United States, Inside the Struggle to Stop a President, which now features an afterword with some never-before-seen reporting. It is out in paperback today. Michael, I'm so glad you're here because for the last 2 years, we have talked about the fact that Jared Kushner, who never managed money for a day in his life, got a whopping $2 billion to manage from MBS. Help us understand how that relationship developed and bloomed while Jared had the inside scoop in the White House.
So what I wrote about in this afterword, it's a biography, a 12,000-word biography of John Kelly. And it talks about Kelly's concerns on Jared and Ivanka.
He hated their guts.
They hated each other. That was pretty clear. But Kelly's concerns about Jared, among them, were that while he was trying to make Middle East peace, he spent all of his time with the wealthy Arab countries. And Kelly didn't understand why it was just such a focus on the wealthy countries. And was there an ulterior motive to why he was doing that? Kelly did not think that Jared and Ivanka had the qualifications to work in the government.
They didn't. I mean, no one thinks they did.
To work in the government, let alone to have their security clearances, which they had this obvious huge blow up over, and Trump had to order Kelly to give them the clearances over what Kelly wanted. So Kelly was deeply skeptical of them. I think he thought Jared was pretty smart, but he didn't understand how he was using that and why he was using that. And I think in terms of Ivanka, he didn't think that she came to work a lot, and he wasn't sure what she did. And because he wasn't sure of what she did, he wasn't sure why she should have a security clearance. He knew as a national security official how important and sacred it was to have a security clearance and the lengths the government has to go to give you a security clearance. And he didn't think that it was part of her job that she should have one.
Jared Kushner has known Benjamin Netanyahu for almost his entire life. When he used to visit New York, he would stay at the Kushners' private home and actually sleep in Jared's room. Then while they were in the White House, you wrote that John Kelly thought that Jared cared more about the Israeli agenda than the American one.
Look, I think that John Kelly wanted there to be a strong relationship between the United States and Israel, and that he thought that Israel was key to that. He just didn't understand why the focus on Middle East peace was so much on the wealthy countries and what Netanyahu wanted. And he didn't understand why there was not a more holistic look at all of the countries and all of the interests that were there.
Well, here's why. Self-enrichment, and it's all worked out really well for them.
Well, look, I think that if you're someone like John Kelly or someone in the senior ranks of that administration that were concerned about Jared, and you saw the $2 billion that went to Jared after he left office, you look at those contacts with the wealthy Middle East countries and you wonder why that focus was there. But you see that there has been an extraordinary payoff.
There sure has. You also write that Donald Trump discussed using a nuclear weapon on North Korea. We like to get really scared just before midnight here to give our whole audience nightmares, so help us out with that.
So when Kelly comes in, his biggest concern is that Trump is using this language publicly, little rocket man, fire and fury, that's going to set off a conflict with North Korea. And Kelly can't get Trump to stop this. He says, look, thousands of people are going to die. That doesn't get through to Trump. He says to Trump, this could destroy the economy that you've created. That doesn't get through. It was only when Kelly appealed directly to Trump's ego and said, look, you could be the first deal maker, the first person, the first American president, dating back all the way to Eisenhower, to make a deal with this leader, to engage with him. You could do that. You're the deal maker. Why don't you do that? Because one of the great unanswered questions of the Trump administration has been, why is it that Trump went from that crazy language to the love letters? How did they get there? Well, part of the reason that Trump got there was because John Kelly
said, you're the man, big guy.
Correct. And Kelly knew what he was doing. And Kelly knew that it was not going to lead to a denuclearized North Korea, but he knew that it would lead to a ratcheting back of the rhetoric. And he was terrified that Kim would launch some sort of missile because he was afraid Trump was really going to take action and it was going to set off a conflict that would kill thousands of people and put the United States at war.
Let's talk Ivanka. I remember during the Trump administration, I interviewed Lee Zeldin in what I thought was the craziest thing ever, where he said he thought Ivanka Trump, because she was so graceful and sophisticated, those qualifications, she should be appointed to the Senate. Right? I thought that was the most bananas thing I ever heard until I read about the showdown between Melania Trump and Ivanka, who thought she should actually be the first lady. Please explain this to us.
So Kelly comes in July of 2017. He thinks that the White House needs order. He thinks that Trump needs to be better staffed. And he starts getting confronted with these issues. And among them that he's told about is that there has been this fight that went on between Ivanka and Melania because Ivanka wanted to become the first lady.
But of course, there was a first lady and her name was Melania. But why would John Kelly get involved with that? Wouldn't Donald Trump, the president, say, hey, ladies, let's settle down?
It was an example to Kelly of the frivolousness of some of the issues that were going on. You have to remember, it's in this period of time that Kelly's realizing that Trump is pushing the country to the brink of war with North Korea. And at the same time, he's having to figure out why Omarosa's having pool parties at the White House to tell her that she can't do that. And it's this mixture of the frivolous and the extraordinary, threat of war that Kelly is balancing as he's taking over as Trump's chief of staff.
Fiction writers couldn't outdo what we all witnessed. Michael Schmidt, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This is certainly a must-read.